Hi, my name is Chris McAlister. Welcome to the SightShift podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Well, welcome into the SightShift podcast. Once again, you know this, but as a reminder, he's Chris, I'm Mark, and we are into episode 2 of our Make Culture Your Edge series based on the new book. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. I don't know how many you've authored now, but we might be in double digits with this one. You can get your copy. I would encourage you to get your copy. Go to Amazon and pick one up so you can follow us along. Or you can go to makecultureyouredge.com and follow along with all the activity that's happening there, including the book. And so we're getting into episode 2 today. Last time we teed up the topic and just kind of started talking about culture and what culture is, what culture isn't. Today we're going to get deeper into the specific model, the elegant, simple model that you have mined
Ripped
out
off.
of the ancient wisdom. The ancients had figured it out long before us. But as I was thinking about this conversation and going again through the content in the book, I was struck by this kind of this audacious thought that is inherent in the book, that you can have a really, really good culture.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking back on my experience pre-SightShift, and there were a few times where it was decent. There were a lot of times where it was just awful, and caused, at least in part, my exit from some of those places. I just didn't want to be there. But I was thinking about the audacious promise that you don't have to settle. You don't have to settle for something less than. It can be really, really good. And yet how often the people underneath you will settle for something less because, well, it could be worse, or I've experienced worse, or maybe the leader is thinking, I don't know how to get it there. I kind of have a desire it could be better, but I guess it could be worse. I don't know. I was just thinking about this idea, and the word audacious came to mind. Like the whole content revolves around this idea of you can have a really good culture. You don't have to settle.
I appreciate you drawing that out. So I want to talk about stake, and I want to talk about talent, and I want to talk about ruin. So help me.
Okay. Stake, talent, and ruin.
Talent first. You guys heard him say it. Like, for me, I'm around lots of leaders, and this is no flattery, not planned, just a vulnerable moment. I may have emotion. I'm a human. That's how I always signal. Feelings are hitting me. Someone that I interacted with that I was like, oh my gosh, like I need Mark on the team. This is amazing. That company you were a part of lost one of the best leaders I've seen because of culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like so freaking huge. And I just don't think we get that. And so I'm so glad you bring out the audaciousness, because I skip over that part. Like, this isn't I'd consider this a bug, not a feature. I'm so far past you can have an amazing culture, because that's just like, of course you can.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you slowing it down and saying, okay, let's really zero in on this, because I think what I've seen with a lot of leaders do, it's like, you're getting a paycheck. What are you complaining about? And it's almost like that crappy low-level parenting. That's like, what are you complaining about? When what you need to understand is, when someone sees how something could be better, their taste is getting refined. They're like, ooh, like, what if it could be like this? I kind of have this desire that this would improve and grow here. And when you shut that down, you're killing the tastemakers in your culture.
Mm, mm.
So the way it hit in my head last night was, so I have a daughter that works at Chipotle, and we had steak, and I know how to fix it. I've done it so many times. My taste is very refined in the sense of like, I know when it's awesome. Temperature, flavor, on the grill, perfect. And I love watching my daughter who works at Chipotle eat it. Like, it makes me so happy because she's doing it last night. She's like, mm, mm, mm.
The fruit doesn't fall far.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of culture, you raise them how you are. But like, she was just like making these noises like I do, and how good it's like, I think this is my favorite meal. You know, she's going on and like, it's good at Chipotle where I work and we know how to fix it, but this is even better. And you think about this, like, let's say I burned the steak. Let's say it was too tough. Let's say it was too bland. Let's say it was too gristly, right? All these things that happen. And then she registers a complaint and she's like, you know, this is a little tough. Hey, just be grateful you're getting steak, right? Her taste making abilities are getting really refined and dialed in, and I'm shutting that down.
Yeah.
And so I think what's happening for a ton of leaders, and I feel like I've probably riffed too long here, but this is why I love how this experience, because none of this is in the book, right? This is all like, I skip past that audacity of like, why wouldn't you serve the best freaking meal possible over and over and over again?
Yeah.
And everybody's going to help make the meal better.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You're making me think of my daughter, who is a baker, as you know. And if I've said this once, I've said it 100 times. She's ruined us for anything else.
Yeah. That's a great
The quality is so much better than anything else we could get, other than maybe those high-end bougie pastry shops.
But probably pretty close.
Probably pretty close.
Yeah.
I know she's pretty close because we've tried those too, but she's ruined us for anything less than.
That's odd. I'm so glad we're eating lunch after we record this.
Are you hungry? So I heard talent, I heard steak. There was a third one.
Dang it. Talent, steak. I think I hit it because it checked off in my brain.
Okay.
But
I failed to remember. I got two of the three.
People, let us know in the comments what we missed.
What did we miss? Okay, so the whole point of that was culture can be really good. Yeah. And even if it's really good, it can continually get better. And we'll hit on some of that later. So the book opens the model, or opens explaining the culture model with three words that probably aren't typically understood as culture words. And we're going to unpack each of these words and what they mean as we go forward. But the three words are faith, hope, and love. And I would love to just pause here and pull out from you, give us a little insight into your brain. Where did that come from? Because those three words are not typically what you would read about in connection with culture.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the way that I got there is much more verified by research now. So the original way was just like working with tons of cultures and trying to, and for those that don't know, I mean, what we're focused on is this idea: insecure leaders ruin the world.
Yeah. I
mean, that's full stop. My insecure moments ruin our family moments, right? My insecure moments ruin our team moments. Why does that happen? Because we lead for validation more than impact. And so the question I'm constantly confronting myself with is, you know, and at one time I connected a thing to see how many companies we were connected to online, and it was hundreds of companies at the time. And it's, you know, somewhere around that and more now. I saw this pattern over and over and over and over, that really culture was a way that is defined by so many thought leaders as what they value or undervalue. And I saw this reality that the best cultures, over and over and over, knew how to be very focused. They were adaptive, and they were unified. And so it was like paper spread out over a table,
I've
many
seen
weekends.
How you work.
Yeah. Just like trying to really crunch all this down. And then I did, and this is true for me, I look at things that endure for thousands of years, because out of the top 10 psychological studies, like 7.5 have been debunked. So when you go to the TED Talk, when you read the book and you're like, this is based on this study, so much of the popular leadership, it's just so flawed. And so, yeah, it's a powerful statement. And, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Like, these are the three substantive pillars of culture. And I know that this is going to be a big bite for people, but the Greeks are brilliant. They figured out a ton. We keep having to come back to it and refigure it out. And not that they were perfect, but it was a real high watermark. And so there was a saying that they had that was like the three things that support culture: pisteo, elpis, and another word which basically meant stoicism. So it's a calm mind in the midst of. It's a mindfulness. And so one of these early thinkers, writers, name was Paul. He was like, no, it's not faith, hope, and this word for stoicism. It's faith, hope, and love. It's not a mindfulness that is removed. It's a mindset upgrade that transforms. And so I'd love to talk about each of the words, but that's the idea. And as that was buffered by more research and just seeing the principles and patterns, it was a complete gelling and kind of like, oh my gosh, all this comes together now. And we've used it for years with being able to, in a simple, elegant way, diagnose what's wrong and what can be better, and get it very precise and accurate.
Let's go. Let's start into each of the words, and they're ordered this way. Although we present them in a circular model because they all relate to each other, they are ordered in this way for good reason. So faith. Let's start with faith.
Yeah. So the idea of leadership, and this is what's so crazy to me. Leadership is only a necessary function because you see something that isn't yet real. If it were real, we don't need leaders. It's just a doing thing. But before there's a doing, there has to be a seeing. And this is like, let's anchor this in the Greek thought. So for them, there's this grand intelligence, and I'm kind of signaling this way because we have trees out the window. And you can go and you can receive thoughts outside of yourself that represent this intelligence. And we would define this in today's terms as like these intuitive leaps and breakthroughs where this insight hits. I love the movie Interstellar where Murph is in the room and she figures out the second hand on the watch is her dad communicating with her through Morse code. Everything that matters fundamentally in the function and nature of leadership is a difference of perspective, seeing what is not yet seen in reality, which is faith. So the philosophical underpinning of faith, pisteo, is a gift bestowed on you, sight. And of course, there's a lot more to that, but ultimately, faith is a gift. And it's to be received. And so the necessary function of leadership is to receive something that you see can be different, can be better, is unimagined. And most people discount that before they really register it in their mind. And they hide from it, or they bolster it and make it the source of their identity or their certainty. And what we're trying to say with this model is you got to see it, and then you got to put it to words. You got to communicate it. It's right communication. And that's so freaking hard to do.
Yeah.
You can talk to a lot of leaders and they got a feel for it and they see it, but they can't really define it yet. And that takes time. So that's the nature of pisteo.
Yeah, cool. There's an interesting thread that comes out in the book around when there isn't vision or sight, or said differently, when there is doubt, activity, motion, it tends toward a focus of just personal survival, which I thought was an interesting way to contrast without that faith, without that vision, without that sight. It narrows toward, well, what do I need to do to survive? Maybe that's part of the question that is underpinning this also, that faith helps to answer, will I be okay?
Yeah, exactly. Because when you're in the survival mode, you're not in the mode of your imagination is captured and you're sacrificing for that picture of what could be and should be. And so what happens for a lot of people, and again, we've hit this in the Lead for Impact content, it's not sacrifice of values, it's sacrifice of the insecurity.
Yeah.
What in me causes my insecurities to show up in such a way that I'm not willing to go all in on this unseen picture of the future? And there is no great vision accomplished for an individual or a team without a clear-eyed sacrifice. Well, the only way it can be clear-eyed is if the picture's defined, you know? And there are plenty of times I'm like, hey, you've heard me use this phrase. This is still at the edge of my consciousness. I don't really have a clear way of saying this. Like, you know, let's go back to the food thing. I remember when we went to some friend's house years ago, we were an early married couple, and they served some chicken that was raw. It was raw in the middle, you know? We were young kids still figuring it out. I know now how to cook chicken that is perfectly cooked on the grill, tender, blah, blah, blah. Most people are serving vision like it's raw chicken. They may have something, but they haven't cooked it up. Yeah. You know, it ain't done.
Yeah. Okay. So let's keep rolling. I like how this is flowing. So let's imagine the chicken is cooked up.
Yeah.
It's good.
Ooh.
It's ready, hot off the grill, still sizzling and moist.
Yeah.
There's an action that is intended to be taken from the preparation, from cooking this chicken, which gets us into the next pillar, which is hope.
Yeah. Hope we think of as, and you've gotten this in my head because I've heard you teach it now a few times, the wishing well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In the 9th grade for me, does Gretchen like me? She did. But we had to move. So moved across states. So hope is not this idea of I wish. And so when people deconstruct it and go like, hope isn't a strategy, I get what they're saying. And they're fine to say it that way because in the popular nomenclature, hope is taken on a term of wishful thinking. That is not what we mean here. Hope that is real, the vision, I see it even though it's unseen. What changes do I make to get there? That's the adaptability. And the Greek word there, these three remain, faith, hope, and love. Hope is elpis. Those writers could have used a word for wishful thinking. They used a word for basically making the wrong right. And so Zeus, when he unleashed Pandora's box, this is where the word came from that they used, hope, elpis. There was a goddess in the box that the idea was she was also unleashed. And so while chaos is coming out of Pandora's box being opened up, things were being made right by Elpis, this goddess. So they were using that word to say, okay, now we see, what do we need to do? So any of you right now, the necessary function of leadership is there is pain around you, there's chaos around you, there's hurt around you. What do you see that could be better, right? And if it's really good, how do you see it could be improved? That's that taste making.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to get there? So this is why, I wish I knew it. Brett's been so great. He leads our marketing and our copy on this to anchor it in like how many change initiatives fail. 70% of people waste a day a week at work because they don't have the vision. And then there was some great statistic about change too. But the whole idea is this: why doesn't change work more? Because it's not connected to the vision. We just change to change things, and we're not connecting it to the faith, the picture we see. And so what's really powerful here is real vision necessitates a change.
I like the idea in the book that hope is what turns the obstacles into opportunities. And then the underlying question here is, will we find a way?
Will we find a way?
Yeah, will we find a way?
I mean, that's it. That's it. And if you can be abundant in your thinking, we're going to be okay. You're going to see what hasn't yet been seen. And then in the raw reality of it, will we find a way? So I love what emerged out of the writing process. I don't even remember if it made it in the book. Faith sees, hope sweats.
Yeah.
We got to find a way.
Yep.
That's what we got to do. Impossible, but necessary.
So then the third pillar and I think you and I would agree on this, or maybe a better way to say it is I would agree with you on this, is love as the whole point. And the underlying question here is, will I be alone?
Yeah.
Like the subconscious doubt that when there is not love, when the culture is not progressing, when the culture is not good, there can be this nagging doubt, the sense of I'm gonna be alone.
Yeah.
And I think what we would say is that the love, the connection, the deepening, ever deepening relationships, which, I mean, I've had some awkward, some weird, some difficult work relationships. So I know this can feel like a stretch. So go back to the beginning. The audacious thought here is that culture can be really good, but it can't without love.
Yeah. And if it doesn't result in love,
Right.
I mean, it's like healthy communities move at the pace of the greatest need. And what's happening for a lot of cultures is they can't thread this needle of what's progressed and conserved. We'll probably hit that in a bigger point in one of the other sessions, because they don't understand the end result of all the culture work. It's love. Now, I remember, so we'll hyperlink real quick. One of the core coaching programs we do in seeing transformation with companies and individuals is figure that shift out. So we basically teach leaders how to develop other leaders. Chapter 11 is about enjoying relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time an executive said to me, he's like, this is like crazy. You use the word love a ton in this chapter. These are people I work with. I don't love them. And I'm like, hey, I hear you. I get it. Just because that's not your experience doesn't mean it shouldn't be the standard. And again, it's not like we float around on clouds and we shoot rainbows out of our stomach like Care Bears to each other. I don't know where that came from. But faith sees, hope sweats, love stays.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in an unhealthy culture, leave. If you're not empowered to change it, go. It's going to ruin you. It's going to make you worse. But when you find a mission you align with, it's not going to be easy. You figure it out. And it's the idea that I'm going to see who I am, and I'm going to become more transformed, and you're going to be transformed as we live out this commitment together.
Mm-hmm.
And the flaw that people think is this: I lose myself in long-term commitments. So people think that in marriage, I'm ball and chain, I'm married. Both of us can attest to the fact that in the presence of a long, multi-decade commitment in marriage, we've actually found more of who we are.
Oh, right on.
Think about what happens with travel. The grass is always greener. I can go over there and I'll be happy. I need to, it's so popular. People say, I need to travel to get new perspective. The best perspective is to be where you are. Travel or not travel, who cares? Don't do it as a way of escaping. The best transformative thing is to keep your commitments and be transformed in them through staying. Your capacity to enjoy the relationship deepens. There's love. And relationships are either continually renewing or they're getting stale. And it continually renewing doesn't mean we're always on a high.
Yeah.
You go through ebbs and cycles and seasons. But I mean, it comes back to this place of depth and commitment. And what's sad to me is you're going to spend all these time with people at work and not have a changed life through it. So there's a lot I could hit on, but faith, hope, and love.
Yeah, faith, hope, and love, the three pillars. And I think what we would say is that as those three pillars are there in ever increasing measure, you will have an impact culture, and culture can be your edge. Family, organization, marketplace, not for profit. It doesn't matter. This is a way to not over-index on the science, the metrics, the data, so to speak, and at the same time, not over-index on just pure emotion either. You've heard me say this a bunch. There's just an elegant simplicity to these three pillars, and we'll get into each of them more as we go. and turn this more into a formulaic type of thinking. But the 3 pillars really are the core of this. And there's a statement in the second chapter that I like. It says, healthy cultures are built by leaders who persist toward a future vision, adapt to the present moment, and this is the part that I really like, without failing to deepen relationships.
Bingo. I mean, that's, here's the bold promise I'll make. This will totally, and test us out on this. This is the bold promise. If you can grasp this model, it'll totally transform your ability to diagnose and implement what you need to do in any culture. Good, bad, or great. Because you're going to learn, where's there a vision issue? Where's there a present engagement and change issue? And are we deepening the relationship or not? And once you learn to recognize it, you are not going to waste your time in all the things that don't really matter. Because I don't freaking care about your engagement score. Because that whole industry is built on a flawed reality that engagement should always be up and to the right. If your engagement scores are bad, then that you pay attention to that. If you're good, you can celebrate it. But that's just a downstream measurement. Do you lead with a vision that captures their imagination, that they're willing to sacrifice for, and they know the contribution they need to make and what they're going to get out of it? Do you make the effective right changes in support of that vision? And does it deepen the quality of our relationships? What else matters?
Yeah.
It's possible that it can be this simple and wise for no matter the complex situation you face.
Okay, so before I segue to episode 3, anything we didn't cover for faith, hope, and love that we need to hit?
No, I know it's a challenge, but try it out. Just try it out.
Yeah, test it. Okay, so what's coming next is what you alluded to, the ability to diagnose, to know where there are opportunities, where the obstacles present can be turned into opportunities to get clearer on the faith, get more direct and specific, and work on the things that need to be worked on in the hope pillar, and continually deepen relationships. We describe them as 3 tensions.
Ooh.
So that's where we're headed next time, the 3 tension points that we can be paying attention to learn where culture needs work, whether it's bad to average, average to good, or good to great. All right. Super. Faith, hope, and love it is for the win for this episode. He's Chris. I'm Mark. SightShift.com. You can find more. MakeCultureYourEdge.com. You can also find more. Get your copy of the book. Follow along with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks so much for being with us on the SightShift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.